Amaka ran. She ran barefoot through the dark, her breath tearing through her chest like claws. Behind her, the ground trembled. Not from thunder, not from rain. Something beneath the earth was waking up, and it knew exactly what she had done. But we need to go back. We need to go back to the beginning, before the running, before the trembling earth, before everything fell apart. We need to go back to the night Amaka first found the grove. It started with her mother. Mama Naka had been sick for 3 months. Not the kind of sickness that came and went. This was the kind that settled into your bones and stayed. She could not eat. She could not stand. She could barely open her eyes without flinching, as though the light itself was too heavy for her. The village healers had come. They brought their herbs. They said their prayers. They shook their heads and left, one by one, until nobody came anymore. Before we continue this story, if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and drop a comment below telling us where you are watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. Amaka sat by her mother's side every night. She held her hand and listened to the thin, rattling breaths, counting each one like it was a gift she might not get again. "Mama," she said one evening, squeezing the frail fingers. "Talk to me, please." Mama Naka opened her eyes slowly. They were glassy, far away. "Amaka," she whispered, "you are a good daughter. Too good. Do not waste your youth watching me fade." "You are not fading," Amaka said, even though they both knew it was a lie. Her mother smiled, a weak and tired smile. "Go, child, go live." But Amaka did not go. She stayed. She stayed because leaving felt like giving up, and Amaka had never given up on anything in her life. The village was not kind to them. It was not cruel either. It was simply indifferent. People had their own struggles. The dry season had stretched longer than anyone could remember. Wells were running low. Crops were thin. Everyone was holding on by their fingertips, and there was nothing left for anyone to spare. It was on a night like any other that Amaka walked to the edge of the bush to fetch water from the stream. The moon was low. The air was thick and still. She knelt at the water's edge and dipped her clay pot, and that was when she saw it. A glow. Faint and golden, pulsing deep in the trees, further than she had ever gone. It was not firelight. It did not flicker the way fire does. It breathed, slow and steady like something alive. Amaka stared at it for a long time. Every elder in the village had warned them about the deep bush. "There are things in there that do not want to be seen," they always said. "And if they see you first, you will never come back the same." She turned to leave. She took 3 steps toward home. Then she stopped. She thought about her mother's breathing. She thought about the healers shaking their heads. She thought about how tomorrow might be the day Mama Naka could not open her eyes at all. Amaka turned back toward the light and walked in. The grove was not what she expected. It was not dark and twisted like the rest of the bush. It was open, beautiful even. Trees she had never seen before rose tall and wide, and golden fruits hung from their branches, glowing softly, as though light lived inside them. A river wound through the center, and beneath the water stones sparkled like crushed diamonds. The air smelled sweet, like honey and rain after a long drought. Amaka stood at the edge and breathed it all in. Then she noticed the figures. They stood in the center of the grove, tall and still, wrapped in smoke and pale light. The spirits of the ancestors. They did not move. They did not speak. They simply stood like statues made of mist, gathered around the river as though guarding it. Amaka did not breathe. She did not move. She watched them for what felt like hours, and then, slowly, one by one, they began to fade. Their forms dissolved into the air like smoke carried away by wind. And by the time the first pale light of dawn crept through the trees, the grove was empty and silent. Amaka went home. And she told no one, but she came back the next night, and the night after that. Each time she stayed a little longer. Each time she watched the spirits more closely. She learned their rhythm. She learned when they gathered, and she learned when they left. She learned that there was a window just before dawn when the grove was unguarded and silent. On the fourth night, she reached out and touched one of the golden fruits. Her fingers trembled. Nothing happened. No spirit rose. No voice called out. The fruit was warm in her hand, smooth like a river stone. She pulled it from the branch. It came free with a soft, quiet sound, like a breath being released. Amaka ran home with it pressed against her chest. She crushed the fruit in a clay bowl and mixed it with water. She brought it to her mother and tilted the cup to her lips. "Drink. Ti mama," she whispered. "Please drink." Mama Neka drank. It was barely a sip. But that night, for the first time in weeks, she slept without pain. By the next morning, colour had returned to her cheeks. By the second day, she sat up on her own. By the third day, she looked at Amaka and smiled, a real smile, not the tired, broken one she had been wearing for months. "Amaka," Mama Neka said, reaching for her daughter's hand. "What did you do?" Amaka smiled back. "I took care of you, Mama. That is all." But it was not all, and Amaka knew it. She went back to the grove again. This time she took more. A handful of the gemstones from the river, 2 more golden fruits. She hid them carefully, wrapped in cloth, buried beneath the floor of their home where no one would think to look. The wealth changed things quickly, and too quickly for anyone not to notice. Amaka bought food from traders passing through. She bought medicine from a healer in the next village over. She bought a new wrap for her mother and shoes for herself. People in the village watched. They whispered, "Where is this money coming from?" An old woman named Ngozi asked her one afternoon, eyeing the new cloth wrapped around Amaka's shoulders. "Your family had nothing last month." "I found work," Amaka said, keeping her voice steady. "In the next village." Ngozi studied her face for a long moment. She said, and walked away without another word. Amaka ignored the whispers. She told herself she deserved this. She told herself that after everything her family had suffered, after watching her mother waste away, after being invisible to the rest of the village for so long, and she had earned this. The spirit world had wealth to spare. It did not even notice what she was taking. What was the harm in taking from something so vast, so powerful, something that would never even feel the loss? One evening, her mother called her over and took her hand. "Amaka, sit with me." Amaka sat, and Mama Neka looked at her with warm, grateful eyes. "I do not know what you have done," she said softly. "But I can see it in you. Something has changed. You carry something heavy, my daughter. I can see it in the way you look at the village." Amaka forced a smile. "I am fine, Mama. I am just happy you are getting better." Mama Neka squeezed her hand. "Promise me something. Promise me that whatever you are doing it for the right reasons, not just for me, for yourself too." "I promise, Mama," Amaka said. But the words felt hollow in her mouth, and she could not meet her mother's eyes. So she kept going back. Night after night. Each time she took a little more. Each time the pile beneath the floor grew. And each time she came home, she told herself the same thing. This is not wrong. This is survival. And then things started to change in the village. It began small. A well that had never run dry for as long as anyone could remember went silent overnight. Just stopped. The water was simply gone, as if the earth had swallowed it. Then another well. Then the stream where Amaka had first seen the light. The crops, which had already been struggling, began to wither faster. Leaves curled and turned brown, even when the rains came. Cattle grew thin. Children started falling sick with fevers no one could explain. The elders gathered, and they sat in a circle beneath the old meeting tree and spoke in low, troubled voices. "Something is wrong with the land," said Elder Obi, his weathered face drawn tight with worry. "I have lived 60 years in this village. I have never seen the earth behave like this." "It is a curse," said another elder, shaking his head. "Someone has done something to anger the spirits." The village healer, a woman named Adana, listened quietly. When the others finished, she spoke. "The land is being drained," she said. "Something is being taken from it, something sacred. I can feel it in my bones." Amaka sat at the edge of the gathering, listening. Her stomach was cold. She said nothing. That night she went back to the grove one last time. She needed to see for herself. She parted the branches and stopped dead. The golden fruits were gone. In not just from the branches she always visited, all of them. Every tree was bare, stripped clean, as though a great wind had torn through and taken everything. The river had gone dark. The stones beneath it no longer sparkled. The water was still and black, like a mirror reflecting nothing. And standing in the center of the grove was the elder spirit. It was not like the others. It was massive, towering, made of smoke and deep burning light. Its eyes were like two coals pulled from a fire, and they were fixed on Amaka with a weight that pressed against her chest like a hand. It did not speak. It did not move. It simply looked at her. Amaka's legs gave way. She stumbled backward, turned, and ran. She ran harder than she had ever run in her life, crashing through branches, her heart slamming against her ribs. She ran until she could not breathe, until she collapsed at the edge of the village, gasping and shaking. The next morning, she woke with sand still on her face and terror still gripping her chest. She went to check on her mother, expecting to find her in bed, but Mama Neka was outside, sitting in the morning sun, talking to Ngozi. "Mama," Amaka said, confused, "you are feeling well?" Mama Neka turned to her with a gentle smile. "I am feeling much better, my daughter. But have you seen what is happening to the village, the wells, the crops? People are scared. Children are crying at night because their stomachs are empty again." Amaka looked at Ngozi, who was watching her with sharp, knowing eyes. "Have you been to the deep bush lately, Amaka?" Ngozi asked, her voice quiet but firm. Amaka's blood ran cold. "No," she said. "Oh, why would I?" Ngozi tilted her head. "You have been disappearing every night for weeks. Where do you go?" "I walk," Amaka said, keeping her voice even. "I cannot sleep. Walking helps me think." Ngozi studied her for a long moment, the kind of look that saw through walls. "The land is dying, Amaka," she said slowly, "and it started dying around the same time you started walking at night." She let the words sit in the air between them, heavy and still. Amaka said nothing. She held Ngozi's gaze, but her hands, hidden at her sides, were trembling. Ngozi said nothing more. She just stood and walked away. That night, Amaka could not sleep. She lay in the dark, listening to the silence of the village, which felt heavier than it used to. She thought about the elder spirit's eyes. She thought about the dry wells and the dying crops. She thought about Adana's words. Something is being taken from it. She thought about her mother, healthy and alive, laughing again for the first time in months. And she thought about what it would mean to give it all back. The next morning, Amaka dug up the cloth beneath the floor. She unwrapped the remaining gemstones and the last of the golden fruits. She held them in her hands and stared at them. They were beautiful. They had saved her mother's life. They had given her family something they had not had in years. But she knew now what they truly were. They were not treasure. They were the life of the land itself. Every stone she had taken, every fruit she had stolen, was a piece of the earth that fed the village. She had been draining her own home without knowing it. And now the bill had come. Amaka walked into the bush at dawn, though she did not run this time. She walked slowly, steadily, carrying everything back in her arms. When she reached the grove, it was darker than she had ever seen it. The trees stood bare and silent. The river was still. The elder spirit was there. It stood where it had stood before, watching her with those burning eyes. Amaka walked up to it. Her hands were shaking, her chest was tight. But she did not look away. She knelt. She laid everything down on the ground before the spirit, every last gemstone, every last fruit, and bowed her head. "I took what was not mine," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I did it because I was afraid. I was afraid of losing my mother. I am sorry." The grove was silent for a long time. Amaka kept her head down. She did not look up. She did not know what was coming, and she was not sure she wanted to. But then she felt something. A warmth. It spread through the ground beneath her knees, through her hands, up through her chest. She looked up. The elder spirit was fading, slowly like mist burning away in the morning sun. But before it disappeared completely, it placed something in Amaka's hands. Not a gemstone, not a fruit. A single seed, small and dark, warm to the touch. Then it was gone. Amaka looked down at the seed in her palm. She did not know what it was, but she closed her fingers around it, stood up, and walked home. She planted the seed that same day in the dry, cracked earth just outside her door. She watered it with the little water she had left. And she waited. 3 days passed. Nothing happened. On the 4th day, Amaka knelt beside the spot and stared at the ground, wondering if she had done something wrong. Then, just as she was about to stand, she saw it. A tiny green shoot pushing through the earth. Small, fragile, alive. She watched it grow. Day by day it stretched higher, and something strange began to happen. The wells in the village started to fill again. The crops stopped withering. The sick children recovered. The land, slowly but surely, began to breathe again. No one knew why. No one could explain it. And Amaka never told anyone what she had done, or what she had returned, or what the elder spirit had given her in the end. But sometimes, in the early mornings, she would sit beside the tree that had grown from that seed, tall and strong now, its branches full of leaves, and she would place her hand against its trunk and listen. The wood hummed beneath her palm, faint and steady, like a heartbeat. The spirit did not punish her. It taught her. Some wealth cannot be carried in your hands. It can only be shared with the world. And Amaka never forgot that lesson for the rest of her life. The end.